I don't understand. Architects and engineers, super smart people, and just can't figure this out. I mean, we seem to be the weakest link today. Developers are making what they need to do. Real estate companies are making what they want to do, and then you look at the architects and engineering companies and firms, and they're getting poorer and poorer. I don't understand.
It's not untrue. I mean, that's why, it's one of the reasons why we've looked to come up with different processes where we can do things more efficiently. But yeah, establishing some sort of minimum fees would be kind of nice. I tell people all the time, if you need knee replacement surgery, you're not going to go around and find the lowest bid on it. And by the way, you're not going to find somebody to do your knee replacement for a low price. They're kind of, the price is fairly set as what you're going to do. You're going to go to the best doctor to get it done. And unfortunately, that's not how things go in our industry all the time.
Are you struggling to find skill set?
I don't think so. I'll tell you, a lot of the architecture programs do a very good job. We have a lot of people here from NJIT, and their program's fantastic. We find that people always, don't know what they don't know when they graduate school. I will put myself in that category. I mean, I was very fortunate to have some people take me under their wing early in my career and show me how to do things. But I would say it's gotten better. The folks coming out of school now, they have a pretty good handle on things. Now, you have to obviously supplement it with real world experience. But when it comes to software and those things, everybody knows everybody's coming out pretty well. It's the real world experience. I mean, I would love if architecture programs made people work construction for a few months just to, get a hands-on thing and see what it really is.
What's your philosophy? When it comes to design approach?
Design approach,
I can give you an example. Do you emphasize on being client-centric? Do you emphasize on being creative, or
the client's
practical?
Number one.
Client is number one.
Client's number one. Don't put yourself above the client.
Even if it's just not making sense to you, or if it doesn't meet your...
That's different, right? If the client is doing something that doesn't make sense or is not in their best interest, it's our duty to tell them that in as polite and friendly way as we can. And we shouldn't, we don't want them making bad choices for sure. But we can't, by way of example, I would never want to have or work at a place where it's like, we only do white walls or something like that, right? Because it's not a one size fits all. And that can, sometimes that can work for people, but it has to be about the client. At the end of the day, that's who we're here serving. We're trying to give them the best product. Now, there's nothing wrong with pushing them in a direction. We certainly, we're not looking for them to design it. We're the experts, but we have to listen to them. You have to listen to what they're saying, take that in, and then turn that into, something that's going to benefit them.
Do you share that philosophy with your team? Do they agree with you?
They do agree with me, yes.
And what if, for whatever reason, you have one of your architects who's super creative and he thinks that the client is just not thinking of this right, and we should practice more effort steering the client to a more let's take an example in a restaurant, and one of your architects came up with a fantastic out-of-the-box design for this particular experience or journey walking into that restaurant. But it's just not familiar. People are not familiar with that approach. Or restaurant owners are just, it's not the most practical one. It's just an innovative, completely different one. Would you push it with the customer? Would you fight it with the customer?
So I think pushing it's okay. Fighting it's not good. Again, if it's something that's just not what they want, the first thing I would do to that person is I would try to coach them on how to have the conversation with the client to make it more about them and not about you pushing your design, because it's not what it is. I would look at it and see, like, is this, if this is something that's truly innovative and is going to help them, we need to do our job better in explaining it to them why they could benefit from it and why it's good for them. Not just because, I think this thing is cool and this is what it should be there. Why is it good for them? Why is it something that we should do? And go from there. But at the end of the day, if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. So maybe you put that idea put a pin in that idea, and something's going to come up later on where you can use it. I mean, as a musician, I'll tell you, I have so many songs I write, and you listen to it in the car, you're like, nah, that doesn't work over there. You take it out, and maybe a year later, you're like, hey, wait, that'll work over here.
How do you balance, Bill? How do you balance innovation and practicality? And how do you get this down to your team to adopt it, to embrace it?
I will tell you that one of the reasons my partner Christian and I work so well together is we do balance each other off. If you can't tell by now, I'm fairly practical, and he's more on the creative end. We both share most of the same values, but it's through lively debate. Not everybody's going to agree with me on that here. There's people here who are going to think that or really want to push the envelope on those things, and I think civility and listening to other people, not waiting for them to finish talking, listening to other people, and having debate, civil debate, and coming to a conclusion is how you do that. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm certainly not always right. Even though my wife thinks I'm always right, I'm not always right.
No, you're lucky.
No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, listen, it's about having conversations and being civil to each other and listening. It's about listening. So, and it doesn't matter who it is. It can be, a person a month out of school. Just have the conversation and listen to where they're coming from and let them listen to where you're coming from. And I would bet that for the most part, you're probably going to come somewhere you're probably going to either meet somewhere in the middle or go to one end or the other. And if you have that conversation in the right way, in the right space, you're all going to feel better about it afterwards.
Interesting. In your experience with new building design and adaptive reuse of existing buildings, first of all, talk to us about the adaptive reuse of existing buildings. That's something you enjoy, you told me earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So what exactly is that?
So, I mean, the easiest way is to give you some examples. We took a building, about 12 years ago now. It was an abandoned building in a manufacturing district in New York City. There was this weird little lean-to thing that somebody built on the roof of it. We were able to take that building, rework the floor plate. We were able to adjust the floor area of the building per the zoning and put a full new facade on the building, all new vertical circulation, and turn it. And then because the building was overbuilt, because we put some things here, they were able to put this kick-ass penthouse on the roof. And the building was about 2/3 of the way done under construction. And this is early on in the days of Peloton. One of the owners of Peloton saw the rendering and said, that's where I want my company to be. And, they've have a bunch of floors in that building, and it went from, something, a blighted thing that you walk past with corrugated, rusted metal on the walls and some pretty gnarly conditions inside, to a first-class office building where people work and some pretty cool companies are headquartered. Another example is a historic building we did in the Flatiron District in New York City. It was a 6-story retail company was in there, and the retail company didn't need all that space. It was a beautiful building, needed to be restored. Our team was able to go through historic records and find out that there was another entrance in that building on a side street. We were able to add another entrance. Again, because the building did not have proper air conditioning and mechanical systems, we were able to put those in and reuse that square footage to put another kick-ass penthouse on a roof with the roof deck. And that building now the retail component has the space is right size, the space it needs, and there's some A+ top shelf office space in there, and the building's restored and it looks amazing. And that to me is a huge success. That feels a lot better than, tearing down a couple buildings, throwing all the stuff in the landfill, and then just, putting something new up.
That's the thing. Are all buildings restorable?
No.
No.
I mean, listen, yes, as a general question. Does it make sense for some? No. There's some buildings that aren't structurally sound. And you get to the point where, so I gave an example before. We built a tall storage building. There were some undersized buildings on that property that weren't really doing much at the time. So that was a tear down. But there's a lot. Listen, especially in New York City, it's not like there's huge swaths of open space where you can build new things here.
Mm.
So those are some examples of adaptive reuse.
So are these the challenges, having the right, space or commodities in place to be able to restore the building? Are these usually typical challenges, or?
Absolutely. When those projects are infinitely more complicated and difficult than a new building, because you're dealing with existing conditions many times that are over 100 years old, that are from building methods and technologies of yesteryear. You are dealing with conditions that won't get uncovered until things are demolished. You're dealing with all sorts of things like that. Those projects are complicated. You're dealing with, in many cases, you are obligated by zoning code to keep a certain amount of that building. And structurally, sometimes it's a little more difficult than you would think to keep those buildings. So there's creative solutions, but that's what I like. I love, everybody always seems to think it's funny, but I love those times when you find something, a problem, and you're like, everybody's like, uh-oh. To me, finding solutions to those problems and how you deal with it, I enjoy the heck out of that. It's fun. And that's, when I say there's creativity in everything, there's creativity in that too, to coming up with, you open up something and there's a huge beam that can't move where you had a staircase or something. What are you going to do? So that's,
Is it important, Bill, when you're working on such a building that is 100 years old, 80 years old building, and you're completely revamping, restoring that building? Is it important that you keep the sense and the feeling, the heritage of that building intact?
I think so. No, I think so. All the projects we've done, whether they're landmarked or historic or not, we've always tried to keep somewhat of the integrity or the spirit of what that building is. The mid-block building I mentioned that Peloton went to, we didn't keep a lot of it, but the stuff we added that was new was a similar brick style, and in the same vein of what, if somebody had built that building as an office building in 1910 or whatever, 1930, I don't even know when it was, but I don't remember, it was a while ago. But if somebody had built it then, what would they have had in mind in keeping the spirit of it? Because again, if you're doing that, you could just kind of make something that looks like new. And again, keeping the spirit of it, but with a modern touch to it as well.
It was very interesting.
Cool.
Very interesting talking to you. We're 5 minutes above the time. I think we recouped for the time that you had internet problems in, but I still have a handful of questions here.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just going to run quickly through them. We kind of touched base on your interests and hobbies, and I'm assuming it's primarily music.
Yeah, it's music. I like the outdoors. I like fishing, hunting.
Do you really spend enough time practicing these hobbies? Because it's really important.
No, not enough.
You don't?
No. I wish I had. Well, we all wish we had more time. I mean, I love golf. Most importantly, I love spending time with my sons and my wife. I'm very fortunate to do that.
And that's the thing. I mean, you got a lot of hobbies, but then there's just not enough time to do anything.
You make time. I mean, I love cooking. And given my wife's Irish descent, I get to do a lot of cooking. I just bought a new pizza maker. I'm pretty stoked about that. Listen, I try to do a lot of different things. It's what keeps you happy.
That's good.
For sure.
That's
I should
good.
start.
I wish I had more time to spend on my hobbies, but there's just never enough time.
There's never enough time.
No. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives at Mancini Duffy that you're particularly excited about?
Yes, we're. I don't know if I'm at liberty to name, but I will tell you we are doing a large sound stage for a prominent production company in New
There
Jersey.
you go. Back to music. So I'm sure you're very excited about it.
It's actually it's a super exciting project for us. It's a large project, and we are honored to be a part of it, and it's going to be amazing.
Fantastic. Can't wait to. Actually, I'm going to follow and see whenever you guys just announce it. I'm going to be more than excited. Very happy to look at it. Your thoughts, about the future of the architectural design regarding sustainability and technological advancements. Do you think there will be a major change in the coming years?
There has to be. There has to be. The fact that we sit here, we model out buildings and spaces in 3D, and we can walk through them. We can do all these things. You can, I can tell you, what this is here, and in great detail, and you can look at it. It's fully rendered, and then we flatten it all out and make PDFs or print it out on drawings, and the folks in the field are either looking at an iPad or on a piece of paper the same way my grandfather did. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, it's kind of crazy. So, I'm very interested in how we can deliver that model as the construction drawing, whether that's through projection mapping or other technologies. But I believe that has to happen. It's crazy that we have all this technology and we're still ostensibly printing it out for the folks in the field to build.
And it's very interesting. It was great talking to you, Will. I have an upcoming episode with Roger Krulak. He's the CEO of Full Stack Modular. I'm not sure if you heard of these guys. Mm-hmm. I'm hosting him next. I encourage you to actually follow our channel. And again, thank you tremendously for all of this. This recording will be edited and we'll start sharing it on our platforms, and will be shared with you as well very soon.
Awesome, man. Hey, it's great.
Bill, thank you. Thanks a lot. And I appreciate all the time. It was really, really fun and interesting talking to you. I'm super excited. Awesome.